From translation, ISV, International Standard Version. This 258th day of the year. Today we are reading passages Daniel 1 through 3. Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 to 21. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Jehoiakim of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his power, along with some of the vessels from the temple of God. And Nebuchadnezzar brought them to the land of Shinar, to the temple of his God, and placed the vessels in the treasury of his God. The king ordered Ashpenaz, his chief officer, to bring some of the Israelites who were of royal descent and from other noble families into his service. They had to be young men without any physical defect, handsome, skilled in all wisdom, knowledgeable, and quick to understand. And the king had planned for them to learn the literature and language of the Chaldeans. The king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine from the king's own table. They were to be educated for 3 years, after which they would enter the king's service. Among them were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, who were from Judah. The commander of the officials gave them Babylonian names. Daniel was called Belteshazzar, Hananiah was called Shadrach, Mishael was called Meshach, and Azariah was called Abednego. Daniel decided not to defile himself with the royal food or wine. So he asked the commander of the officials for permission not to defile himself. God made the commander of the officials sympathetic toward Daniel. But he said to Daniel, "I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. What if he sees that you are worse than the other young men of your age, so that my head will be cut off?" So Daniel said to the guard whom the commander of the officials had assigned to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, "Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who are eating the royal food. And deal with your servants based on what you see." So he listened to them and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, their appearance was better and healthier than that of any of the young men who were eating the royal food. So the guard continued to remove their food and wine and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 young men, God gave them knowledge, skills, and wisdom in all literature and wisdom. And Daniel gained understanding in all visions and dreams. When the time was up, as determined by the king, the commander of the officials brought them before Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and among them all, no one could compare to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's service. In every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all the wise men and diviner magicians in his entire kingdom. Daniel remained there until the 1st year of King Cyrus. Daniel chapter 2, verses 1 to 49. In the 2nd year of his reign, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that disturbed him and made him restless. So he summoned all the diviner magicians, wise men, sorcerers, and Chaldean stargazers to tell him what he had dreamed. The king ordered them to tell him the dream, so they came in and said to him, "The king, live forever. Tell us the dream, and we will tell the interpretation." The king said to them, "I had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to understand the dream." The Chaldean stargazers replied to the king in Aramaic, "The king, live forever. Tell us the dream, and we will tell you its interpretation." The king replied to the Chaldeans, "The decision is final. If you don't tell me the dream and its interpretation, you will be torn limb from limb, and your houses will be reduced to rubble. However, if you do tell me the dream and its interpretation, I will reward you with gifts and honors. So tell me the dream and its interpretation." The Chaldeans replied to the king, "There is no one on earth who can tell the king what you want. No king, not even a great and powerful one, has ever asked such a thing of any diviner magician or Chaldean stargazer. The king is demanding something that is impossible. The king wants to know a dream that he has already forgotten, and we can't tell him." The king said to them, "I'd have decided that if you don't tell me the dream and its interpretation, you will suffer the following penalty. Your houses will be demolished, and you will be reduced to rubble." The Chaldeans replied to the king, "There is no one on earth who can do what the king demands." No king, not even a great and powerful one, has ever asked such a thing of any diviner magician or Chaldean stargazer. The king's demand is so urgent and the king is so insistent that they told him, "There is no one who can interpret this dream for you except the gods, and they don't live among mortals." Because of this, the king was angry and furious. He gave orders to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. A decree was issued, and the wise men were about to be executed. They searched for Daniel and his friends to execute them. Then Daniel spoke with wisdom and good judgment to Arioch, the captain of the king's bodyguards, who had gone out to execute the wise men of Babylon. He approached Arioch and asked him, "Why is the king's order so harsh?" Then Arioch explained the situation to Daniel. Daniel went in and asked the king for permission to give him some time to tell the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and told his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah about the matter. He urged them to ask God for mercy concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his friends wouldn't be executed along with the rest of Babylon's wise men. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a vision during the night, and Daniel praised the God of heaven. Daniel said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my ancestors, for you have given me wisdom and might, and have now revealed to me what we asked, for you have revealed the king's matter to us." Daniel went in to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to execute the wise men of Babylon, and said to him, "Don't execute the wise men of Babylon. Bring me before the king, and I will give him the interpretation of his dream." Arioch quickly brought Daniel before the king and said to him, "I have found a man from Judah, a Babylonian, who can tell the king the interpretation of his dream." The king said to Daniel, whose Babylonian name was Belteshazzar, "Are you able to tell me the dream that I saw and its interpretation?" Daniel answered the king, "No wise men, diviner magicians, astrologers, or stargazers can tell the king the secret he is asking about. However, there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in the future. This is your dream and the visions that came into your mind while you were asleep. As for you, O king, while you were in bed, you had thoughts about what would happen in the future. The revealer of secrets has revealed to you what will happen. As for me, I have been given this wisdom, not because I have superior wisdom or experience, but because I am a reverent worshiper of the God of heaven, who has revealed to you the king's matters." The king saw a dream that made him afraid, and he wanted to understand what it meant. You, O king, saw this image. It was enormous, with extraordinary brightness. It was terrifying, with a radiant glow. The head of this statue was made of gold. Its chest and arms were made of silver. Its abdomen and thighs were made of bronze. Its legs were made of iron, and its feet were made partly of iron and partly of clay. You watched as a stone was cut loose without human hands, and struck the statue on its iron and clay feet, shattering them. Then, all at once, the iron, clay, bronze, silver, and gold were shattered. They became like chaff from a summer threshing floor. The wind blew them away, and they disappeared. But the stone that struck the statue became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. That was the dream, and I will now tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, are the King of Kings. The God of heaven has given you sovereignty, power, might, and glory. You've been given dominion over all humanity, animals, and birds, and have been made king over them all. The head of gold represents you, the king. As for you, O king, you are a king of kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion, power, might, and glory. After you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Then a third kingdom, made of bronze, will rule the whole earth. A fourth kingdom will be strong like iron, just as iron shatters and crushes everything, and like iron that breaks in pieces, it will shatter and crush all the others. As for the feet and toes that you saw, which were partly made of pottery and partly made of iron, it will be a divided kingdom, but it will have some of the strength of iron. As the toes of the feet were partly made of iron and partly made of clay, part of the kingdom will be strong, and part will be brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with clay, so they will mix with one another through marriage, but they will not hold together, just like iron and clay do not mix. In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will this kingdom be left to another people. It will shatter and crush all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, but it will endure forever. The stone that was cut loose without human hands and shattered the iron, bronze, clay, silver, and gold became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. The God of heaven has revealed to the king what will happen in the future. This is the dream, and its interpretation is trustworthy. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and worshipped Daniel, and ordered that an offering and incense be made to him. The king said to Daniel, "Your God is truly the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, because you have been able to reveal this secret." The king promoted Daniel to a high position and gave him many gifts. He made Daniel ruler over the whole province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested that the king appoint Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as administrators of the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained at the royal court. Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 to 30. King Nebuchadnezzar made a statue of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide, and erected it on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. The king sent orders to assemble the satraps, prefects, governors, counselors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other officials of the provinces to attend the dedication of the statue he had set up. Then the satraps, prefects, governors, counselors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other officials of the provinces assembled for the dedication of the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. They stood before the statue that Nebuchadnezzar had erected. Then a herald cried out, "To you, O people, nations, and languages, this is what is commanded. The moment you hear the sound of horns, flutes, harps, lyres, and bagpipes, and all kinds of musical instruments, you are to fall down and worship the statue of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship the statue will immediately be thrown into a blazing fiery furnace." Therefore, as soon as all the people heard the sound of horns, flutes, harps, lyres, and bagpipes, and all kinds of musical instruments, they fell down and worshipped the statue of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this point, some Chaldeans approached the king and maliciously accused the Jews. They began to speak to King Nebuchadnezzar. "Long live the king! Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone is to fall down and worship the statue of gold when they hear the sound of horns, flutes, harps, lyres, and bagpipes, and all kinds of musical instruments. But whoever does not fall down and worship the statue will be thrown into a blazing, fiery furnace. There are some Jews whom you have appointed administrators of the province of Babylon: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men have ignored your Majesty's command and do not worship their God or the statue of gold that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, his face flushed with anger, summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The king commanded that they be brought before him, and Nebuchadnezzar spoke to them. "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not worship my God or the statue of gold that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of horns, flutes, harps, lyres, and bagpipes, and all kinds of musical instruments, fall down and worship the statue that I have made. But if you do not worship it, you will immediately be thrown into a blazing fiery furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered King Nebuchadnezzar, "We do not need to defend ourselves before you. If our God, whom we serve, is able to rescue us from the blazing fiery furnace and from your power, O king, he will certainly do so. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not worship your gods or the statue of gold that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar's face flushed with anger, and he told his advisors to heat the furnace 7 times hotter than usual. He ordered some of the strongest soldiers in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing fiery furnace. The king's orders were so urgent and the furnace was so hot that the flames killed the soldiers who carried Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were bound and fell into the blazing fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in alarm. He approached the furnace and asked his advisors, "Didn't we throw 3 men into the fire, bound?" The king replied, "Yes, that's right. I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire, unharmed. And the 4th man looks like a divine being." Then Nebuchadnezzar approached the door of the blazing fiery furnace. He called out to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, "Servants of the Most High God, come out." Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego emerged from the fire. The satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors gathered around to observe the men. They noticed that the fire had no effect on their bodies. Not a single hair on their heads was singed. Their clothes were not burned, and there wasn't even a scent of smoke on them. Nebuchadnezzar declared, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel to rescue his servants." They trusted him and defied the king's order. They were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. I hereby decree that anyone who does not worship the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will be thrown into a blazing fiery furnace. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.